Back home, Minister in the Presidency tasked with security, Mondli Gungubele, says fraud and corruption in the State Security Agency is being investigated. It follows reports of alleged corruption in the agency and how the SSA dealt with the July unrest that hit parts of Gauteng and KZN last year. Minister Gungubele joins us. Minister, good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. Of course, we've seen the reassurances that you have been giving about rooting out corruption in the State Security Agency and how seriously government is taking that mandate. Of course, it comes as we know that the officials that had been suspended on allegations of corruption from the State Security Agency have recently been reinstated back into positions, despite the fact that there have been no disciplinary cases that have been concluded against them.
Thank you. Good evening, Kathy, and good evening to your viewership. Thanks for the opportunity. Maybe let me restate the fact that we want to assure South Africa that the report of the High Panel Review and its recommendation, Professor Sandy, and all other related reports with regard to the state of the institution are taken serious, and there's a clear program of implementing those. And we are more reinforced by the new strong character and well-experienced DG, Ms. Majola, who we expect very soon to place before us a blueprint with regard to the direction of the institution. Having said that, on the officials you're speaking about, we want to restate the point that, Kathy, those people, most of them were suspended for more than the required period, which is required before you execute disciplinary processes. And in other words, we're on the wrong side of the law. The only way you can actually deal with that is by bringing them back, but with strong precautionary measures with regard to the allegations that led to their suspension. In other words, if you were suspended because there's an allegation of you having done something with regard to finances and being a financial officer, if you are reinstated, it's done with precautionary measures, because we are looking at that so that we institute processes that would lead to proper conclusion, but within the law.
Of course, the difficulty, Minister Gungubele, is that statements like what you're saying about rooting out corruption then lack credibility, because if indeed there was a commitment to root out corruption, the department and the SSA, the agency, would not have allowed the period under which there are provisions within the law to conduct these investigations to lapse before these processes are even finalized. And the idea that having these people back in the system but being put in different positions does not compromise the entity simply does not make sense.
Well, there could be a reasonable concern as far as what you're saying, Kathy, is concerned. But the fact is, as a matter of fact, these people were suspended and the period was allowed to expire before the proper processes of discipline were executed against them. This is a fact. We don't like what we had to do, but I repeat, we have done it with precautionary measures. And I'm saying, going forward, in the past couple of weeks, since we actually have been working together with the acting DG, Mr. Msimang, we have tried to move fast to implement the urgent recommendation, in particular those which pertain to sensitive positions. We have ensured that we cooperate with NPA with regard to those people who are implicated. All of them, their names have been put forward, and we have instituted a forensic investigation. And in the process of doing so, we are trying to be on the right side of the law. There are moments where you find yourself on the wrong side of the law regarding people who have got question marks around their lives. But when you correct that, you don't correct that to reinforce the possible offenses on their side. You want to be on the side of the law so that as you correct their behaviors, you do that within the law.
Minister, the difficulties
and I'm saying this,
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I'm saying this because, Kathy, I want to repeat this. We want to reinforce the law in SSA. And as we do so, we are doing it because a lot of characters in the SSA allow themselves to be on the wrong side of the law. SSA has been allowed to be run outside the law. So as we do that, we must do it in a manner that is consistent. Thanks very much.
Again, the difficulty is around not only just the idea of having a sense of urgency around the kind of action that is being taken, but if we go back even just to the findings of the Mufamadi report, 2018, Minister, was when that report was, handed over to the President, and of course, the recommendations have been long-standing for the last couple of years. If there's to be any true change, that document needs to be one of the blueprints on which these, on which any turnaround is based on. And there seems to, yet again, not be very much action, because we still see the likes of David Mahlobo being part of the cabinet, and yet he was fingered, not just in the Mufamadi report, but also before the Zondo Commission of inquiry. And so there is genuinely a crisis of credibility, that how can we take what you are saying seriously about implementing these recommendations, about rooting out corruption, when the evidence before us suggests something different?
Listen, Kathy, it's going to be difficult. Let me say this. It's going to be very difficult for me to speak on my colleague. I've said this several times to journalists, to say what is supposed to happen to any colleague, because that's not my purview. But let me say this. I am deployed here. Ms. Majola has been appointed by the President. We are doing what we're supposed to do. It's going to be very difficult to account on what did not happen before we came. And what we are doing now and saying to South Africa, please make us account on the basis of what we're supposed to do since we were appointed.
So what does that mean? Does that mean that those officials who had previously been suspended, who are being reinstated under your watch, will now be suspended again?
We remember, once you say these people, the period for which they were supposed to be suspended, within which DC was supposed to execute it, that has not been fulfilled. If you dismantle that, you then reassess the basis on which they were suspended. And I've said to you, Kathy, we do that with precautionary measures, because we are very careful, because allegations against them, some of them are worrisome, so there is no reckless redeployment, as we are reassessing the basis on which they were suspended. I'm not sure if that makes sense to you.
All right. We'll leave it there for tonight. Minister in the Presidency tasked with security, Mondli Gungubele.